I'll turn.
All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, my friends, to a discussion about the PMP exam and a lot of the stuff that we do leading up to the exam. So what I want to cover today is the pragmatism of the PMBOK guide. I get people asking me, okay, Phil, I find myself studying this stuff, but am I really going to use it in the real world? Let me touch on some of the things people ask. So here we go into schedule management, right? Schedule management can get pretty heavy because once you go beyond the definitions and the exam material, you can actually ask, okay, how do I practicalize this? On the screen, I have Project Libre, which is a free scheduling tool. And a lot of people say, okay, do I really need to know this for the exam? No, you don't need to know it for the exam. But if you want to work as a project manager in the real world and you want to get the best of gigs, you should be able to do, in my mind, everything in the book. You should be able to schedule, you should be able to cost, you should be able to scope, and you shouldn't be afraid of this stuff. So I encourage those who have not been into scheduling to learn how to schedule, because if you really want to work as a project manager on a lot of these projects, be they pharmaceutical, infrastructure, engineering, commercial of any kind, you are expected to develop a schedule as a project manager. Not every project has a project coordinator to serve them. Yeah, bowing down to them, oh, mighty project manager, let me help you. I'm your genie in the bottle. No, it's not going to work. So you as a project manager need to be able to do this. Now, the other piece of Microsoft Project, which goes unspoken about, is the ability to cost. So if I was going to insert a column for the actual cost, that's revealed. And by the way, all I'm showing here is very similar to what you get in Microsoft Project. So being able to cost your project, being able to go into your resource sheet and to have resources in there. And to be able to put in the standard rates, for example, I just put some random rates in here. Random rates of resources. Let's put a few. 55 an hour, 66 an hour, 77, just for the sake of this illustration. So being able to cost your project, going back to the Gantt chart, being able to assign those resources to the project. So we can assign the resources here, very similar to Microsoft Project. Okay, assigning them. And as you assign resources, you want to take a look at the cost. Cost is what you want to see. This is the cost. So there's actual cost and there's cost itself, which is the prediction. Actual cost is what has been spent. You don't see anything in the actual until time is, allocated. So as we begin putting in the percent complete and you begin completing the work, not until you begin completing the work are you going to see any actuals. But the idea is as you begin to complete the work, then you're seeing some actuals. Being able to do all of this stuff is important for project managers. So it's not enough to just have the PMP. I want to encourage people to be able to schedule, understand the dynamics of cost. If you're on a project and someone asks you, all right, cost out this project, you should at least have a starting point. You should know where to begin. If someone says, okay, as a project manager, I need you to develop one of these, let's go over to the WBS because that's where I'm going next. So if someone says, oh, I need you to be able to develop a work breakdown structure for this project, you shouldn't feel doubtful of yourself. You should be able to do it, which means learning about creating work breakdown structures, reading PMI standard for WBS creation, being proficient with it, okay? Understanding what exactly the WBS does, understanding what does it look like. Unfortunately, a lot of the literature out there doesn't do that for people, which is why my recent book on Project Management Essentials goes into examples of all of these things. So whether it's the scope statement, whether it's an example of a WBS, breaking it down into the different pieces, whether it's a WBS dictionary, whether it's going into the world of scheduling and it's a milestone list or an activity list. This book has examples of all of these things people struggle with, because you could very well study for PMP and you've never seen a schedule, or when it comes to budget, you don't understand what budget could be. And this is an example of how to budget, the different things you could do with your line items, right? Here's some other examples of things to be aware of. Cost of quality, matrix diagrams. It just makes your studying more pragmatic when you can actually see examples. So my argument for people who are studying the exam is don't just focus on passing the exam. Focus on being able to do stuff, because that's what a company is going to pay you to do. If you're not able to develop WBSs, you're not able to schedule, you're clueless when it comes to cost, it's not going to work out very well for you in the marketplace. If you're not clued in as far as things like earned value and how to pragmatize them or how to report on costs. Let's not even talk about the CPIs and the SPIs, but if you're inept in these areas, it's hard in the marketplace. So that's one part of the puzzle I wanted to talk about. For other people who want to go to the next level, I'm going to put a link below this video so that people who want a book that has these examples of cost and schedule items, they can actually go get it. I'm going to put a link below. And then for my other friends in the world of Agile, those of you who are frustrated because you don't know how to pragmatize Agile, I'm going to put a link below to this book. It's called Scrum Mastery, 5 Levels of Leadership for Agile Success. A lot of people, they get certified and then they can't apply it, and then they don't know what to do. And then they get into a job on day one and you've been made a Scrum Master because you did so well in your Scrum exam and you're like, I don't know what to do. This book is going to help you. All right. So for those folks who may be like that, just look below, click, go to Amazon, grab the book. And I'm giving you the game plan about how to work in an Agile environment, how to work with an Agile team, how to navigate the terrain, and how to succeed. Okay. So that's all I had for today. Darren, thanks for joining us. You got any questions that you would like for me to answer about the world of project management after PMP or leading up to it or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually thought you were referring to me when you pulled out the Scrum Mastery. I actually have passed the PSM, but as far as real world experience, don't have it yet. So I was just thinking over here, yeah, I need to jump into that book a little bit that you sent over and do some practice.
Absolutely.
But as far as scope, schedule, and cost and the project controls, I'm actually starting to pursue a career in scheduling, because eventually I want to get to project management. And that's a good place to start. And you can kind of break that in there. And you were right, using this tool and actually breaking that down and using your PMP knowledge gives you a real world example, because also on the test, it's not going to be black and white of what is scope. It's going to put scope into a question, and then you got to determine what's next. And you learn that by going through the scheduling tool and also applying different things such as cost and earned value, as you said, which would be the next step level up. So, I mean, I think you laid it out pretty well. It's just playing with the tool a little bit, but also breaking down that real world knowledge. That way, when you get out, you can use it.
Absolutely, Darren. You're right on the money. And honestly, I like the direction you're going in. And I'm really proud that you're really going down into the tunnel of earned value and schedule, and you're working with my buddy Daryl and the organizations he's associated with, like the folks at CPM. And that's really good. I really encourage you to do what you're doing the more. And also keep digging into the standards if you haven't already. So PMI has standards for a lot of these things. If you go to pmi.org and you go into standards and publications, you can find standards that are beyond just a PMBOK. You can go into some of the foundational standards And this is where we have standards for earned value, as you can see over here. Currently building out a entire certification program based on that. We have the standard for risk management, OPM, you name it, program management, portfolio. And I've actually done a lot of high-level overviews of these. So I've got a video out there on the summary of the portfolio standard, the summary of the program standard. Some of my recent books have been on program management. I've done the business analysis, which is now part of the CAPM, OPM. I believe I have some content on that as well. So these are just great to get into for you to understand more. And then if we go into the practice standards, this is where even more fun begins, because you get into the intricacies of estimating, scheduling. PMI has a certification of that, which I've taken. It's the PMI SP. Then we have the practice standard for WBS creation. I have content on this somewhere, which I need to locate, but I've broken this down into a summary. And then we got risk, we got configuration management, and then we have this. I have an entire program that is built on the competency development framework, which I've taught to teams across the world. And some of the friends at the Project Leadership Institute, they're going to be learning this in year 3. We're on year 2 now. And then practice guides. There's some great stuff in here as well. Process groups, a practice guide is one that is still relevant for the PMP and the CAPM. It pretty much took what was in the 6th edition and it has put it in here. I love the benefit realization management because it sensitizes you to realizing benefits. The Agile practice guide, requirements management itself, governance of portfolios, programs, and projects, business analysis, kind of like a condensed version of the other business analysis guide, navigating complexity. I mean, PMI, they've been busy, and I applaud them for that. Then we've got this PMI lexicon of terms. So if you are a member of the PMI and you log in, you should be able to download this lexicon of terms, and highly encourage everyone to do that and be familiar with terms as a project management professional. So when you log in to the site, it will reveal the download, and I encourage it majorly because, let me just show it on the screen here. It's gone through a facelift, fancier look, PMI lexicon of project management terms. But what you're going to find here is a lot of the terminology that you have throughout PMI's publications. So this is a good one, and I'll just put a link so you can log in and download it for yourself, lexicon of project management terms. All right, and that's all I wanted to touch on. I just wanted to encourage our friends. And Sarah, thank you for joining us, Sarah. If you have any questions, you can also please feel free to ask them. But I just wanted to touch on a few ideas, because I know once people get certified, it's like job, but yeah, job, but you got to be ready for job. You got to be ready for agile work. And part of it is really knowing how to navigate the terrain. And then you got to be ready to pragmatize all that you've done for PMP, schedule, scope, quality, resources, and for those who are stuck and may feel, okay, Phil, it's all well and good for you to say, go read. But that's not all I'm saying. For those who don't have a framework of learning and you really need a framework, or you've got an interview you're getting ready for, you need to go to the next level. I want to encourage you to go on down to our website, and it's called pmanonymous.com. Like we have other anonymous websites. It's kind of like a play on words in humor, because a lot of times people are going through turmoil and they don't know how to dig their way out of a career quagmire. And the way to do it is to go to pmanonymous.com, book some time with someone who has been there, done that, worked in engineering, healthcare, pharmaceutical, biotechnical, name it, worked with so many firms, the NASA's, the FBI's, the US Air Force, the US Army, the Army Corps. I could go on and on. This is why I tell people, people say, Phil, but you're too expensive. I'm like, okay, well, keep working alone. You're not going to get very far. But if you enlist the help of someone who's been there and made all the dumb mistakes, done the heavy lifting before you, I can tell you the mistakes not to make. And that's why people around the world are always looking for their buddy Phil to help them out. So if you are stuck, mega stuck, and you need help, go to PM Anonymous. If you need a quick brush up, again, I have students on the regular who know that this is part of giving back to yourself. Like when I got PMP certified, little did I know that my PMP would take me not only to the world of six figures, but it would multiply what I was making 300% more than what I was making. Crazy. So it's not enough to get certified. You also need to give back to yourself. You also need to make sure that you're greasing those wheels and making sure that you're able to function at the optimum, making sure that you're getting coaching and mentoring and education you need. And it's a way of giving back, and, people might say, oh, but it's still, think about it. If you're not giving back to yourself 10 to 20% of what you're making, you're doing it wrong, because you should be. It's like the good book says, don't muzzle the ox that treads the corn. You're doing all this work. The ox is treading the corn, grinding the corn, and you say, no, I'm not giving you any. Well, you're kind of doing it to yourself. You say, yeah, I know I'm making all this money, but I want to go buy the latest Gucci or the latest Armani. No, don't do that. You're more important. Take the money, spend it on yourself. All right, my friends, any other questions or concerns before we jump off? Sarah, any questions?
No questions. I'm just like gradually, it's just like, how will I say? I'm gradually assimilating everything, and it's on a daily basis making more sense, and I'm beginning to enjoy it more. And I look forward to every session that we have. So
lovely. I love it. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. That's you're drinking the Kool-Aid. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I appreciate the aspect of the tools, because at the end of the day, it's what you bring to the table. So you need to know how to apply all these things. It's not just passing the exams. It's about putting it, adding value to yourself and adding value to whichever organization you're going to work for. So knowing how to use these tools is very important. Yeah.
You're so correct, Sarah. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning tools, because for our friends at home who may be looking for tools, I wanted you to know that there's some tools available here. If you go to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention website, you can find a plethora of these tools. I show you some of these completed forms in my book. And then on the CDC website, you got these blank forms, which are a good starting point as well for anyone. True story. I had a student, graduate, PMP graduate, that got a huge promotion. Why? This is going to sound ridiculous. Because they knew about the CDC portal. Guess what they did? Pillaged the life out of that portal, downloaded every form, and presented it. Behold, I've been working hard. These are forms that we can use in the company. Instant promotion. You got to be smart, my friends. Why do all the heavy lifting when someone's done it?
We say something in the legal world. We say the best lawyer is not who knows the law, but who knows where to find the law. So it's working smart.
You got it.
Knowing where to find it.
Exactly. I like that. That's a very quotable quote. Thank you for sharing that. So for those who are wondering, where do I get the CDC stuff? The direct link is tinyurl.com/Sigma PMO. That's a shortcut I made for it. For those folks who have firewall restrictions at work, then you got to go to the long link here. And honestly, you want this in your back pocket, because this individual was told, well, we want to set up a PMO, and being that you're a PMP, we think you can help us. And then this person said, Phil, wait, that link you showed us. Had actually forgotten about the link until they were put under fire at work, got the link, and then they became a rock star overnight. So that's it. All right, my friends. Well, thank you, Darren. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you. And friends at home, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with your friends, and hit the bell icon. Thank you.